Speaking of the Utah defense, though, I was overall really impressed with this unit. No question they wore down. Josh, I want to ask you, we hear a lot about like, hey, you just hear the talk of, well, what happened with the defense is they wore down. How real is that the longer a defense is on the field, having experienced that, I'm sure, at some point in your career?
It's definitely a real thing, because consistent three and out, three and out, three and out, three and out. You don't really truly
Mm-hmm.
get time to rest or catch your breath. And, sometimes some of those drives can be 10, 12, 13, 14 plays, you know what I mean? And that begins to weigh down on you over the course of a game. So, it does absolutely play a factor. And, ultimately, as a defender, as a competitor, you still want to go out there and you still want to, stop whatever the offense throws at you. But
Mm-hmm.
realistically speaking, from a the grand scheme of things, it is a factor. You can't ignore it.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. And one thing I think that is so interesting, Josh, is we always hear about, it's always a defense wearing down, never an offense wearing down. Do you think the reason that
Right.
is just because defense is so reactionary and you have to always keep up or react to what an offense is trying to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimately you might have an idea of what the offense may be doing, or tendencies or whatnot, but ultimately you never know. Everything is
Yeah.
reactionary. Read and react, and you have to play fast. You know what I mean? You have to react and get to the ball, see ball, get man. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
that's very much a thing when it comes to being on defense.
Yeah, looking at this Utah defense this past weekend, just some unfortunate big plays, right? Like there was the borderline pick play at the start of the game. Do you feel like that was a pick
Yeah.
play? I want to know. Because he did kind of, one thing they talked about on the broadcast was like if he came back behind the line of scrimmage, which he was very close to doing that. So that was an interesting area as well.
I think that's a big play.
You did think it
I
was a pick
think
play?
that's a big
Yeah.
play. Yeah, I know the rule behind the whole line of scrimmage thing, but I watched that. I honestly I rewinded that multiple times. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, he even before he even broke across the field to run the drag route,
Mm-hmm.
the receiver had already blocked. I'm like, wait a minute, you can't you can do it, but you can't do that. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's but see, the thing about it is, if it's in that gray area, they're gonna give it to the offense. So
Yeah.
as a defense, or even as a defensive coach or anything, you have to understand that if it's in the gray area, they're gonna let it fly. Same thing as like a receiver pushing off or whatever. If it's kind of like not really extended or anything like that, they're gonna give it to the offense. So even though I feel like it may have been a pick play, it probably, to the refs, they're gonna be like, we'll let them have it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which is pretty unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. And it was unfortunate just the way this Utah defense really kind of lost their momentum as this game wore on. Josh, do you know
Mhm.
how many tackles Utah missed in this game according to Pro
Oh,
Football Focus? Take a
I
guess. It
believe it was 23.
was 24. You are well studied, my friend. I
24.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
I
what,
was just,
wasn't that shocking?
yeah. Yes. Yes. That is not that is not the Utah football defensive culture, is missing tackles. So, and that was
Mhm.
one thing I crucially wanted. That's the number one thing the defense has to get better at. You got
Mhm.
to get better at tackling. As many plays as we make on the ball, like with Jackson Bennett getting another
Oh my gosh, how
interception
about
for
that
his
pick, right?
third
Ooh.
game in a row. Yeah, and I like that kid, by the way.
Uh-huh.
But
Nice.
we got to get better at tackling. Like
Mhm.
it's inexcusable how many to miss over. To me, honestly, it's inexcusable to miss more than 5 tackles a game. If you
Mhm.
really want to consider yourself an elite defense, you have to tackle the ball when it comes your way. And not to, like, don't get me wrong, I like the quarterback Will Hammond. I like him.
He made some
But
plays. Mhm.
some of the plays where he was scrambling, I'm like, he's not the most
That
athletic
ain't
in the
Lamar
world.
Jackson. That ain't Lamar
Yeah,
Jackson.
he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not even Dan Pierre. You know what I
No.
mean? So it's like, how are we missing tackles on this
Mhm.
guy? Like, it's points where he's about to go out of bounds, but he's staying in bounds because we're overrunning the angles, and I'm just like, that can't happen. That absolutely cannot happen.
I
Not as a
agree.
Utah football defense.
Yeah, and Utah knows that as well. I think Josh, the one guy, I'm not trying to signal someone out, but like Teo Johnson, that was like the one thing coming into the season. Utah safety, I felt
Mhm.
like he really had to work on. Like that was what was holding him back to me of being an NFL guy. He made,
Right.
Blake Cotton had that good pass breakup, and Teo had a pick in this game that was impressive off the helmet. It was a great play by Cotton, but just once again,
Mhm.
like I'm surprised that Teo's issues have been tackling. What do you attribute that to? Like, how can Utah improve defensively when it comes to tackling. And yes, Texas Tech has some special players like the receivers that break tackles, but we also both agree on like what a Hammond is. Like Utah is going to play more elusive players. When Sam Levitt comes to Salt Lake City, we better be tackling better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. The way you get better at tackling is you have to. It starts in practice.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, it starts in practice. It starts with drills. It starts with dedicating a period of practice strictly for tackling, and you have to hone those abilities, and it takes a while. For some people it may take longer than others, because it's always about angles, you know what I mean? So for Tal, I believe he can do it, but he has to take it upon himself to analyze, to kind of self-analyze and self-assess, like, okay, this is what's wrong with my tackling, and this is what I can do to fix it. This is where I'm missing these tackles at, and this is where I need to work on it at in practice. So that way, when it comes game time, it's not an issue.
And another thing that's an issue right now for Utah is they really only have one elite pass rusher. I know Logan Fano was a little banged up 2 weeks ago, so we didn't see him pop against Tech. Maybe that's the reason why. But Josh, John Henry Daly is the mayor of Sac Lake City. It's not even close right now. He's been on a tear. But Utah needs, whether it's an interior pass rusher, and this is where it hurts, losing a Keanu Tanavasa, like Utah needs another pass rusher to emerge. And just like you guys in that 2019 defense, you had multiple. It was Bradley and I was the guy, but you had other guys that could get to the quarterback. And I think this Utah team needs another pass rusher, whether in the interior and another guy on the outside would be great if they want to be an elite defense, the level of that 2019 team we mentioned.
Yeah, agreed. Like, we had three people: John Pennicini, Lucky Fotu, Bradley, and I. They all got drafted. So you know what I mean. That says a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. You're definitely right about that. And John Henry Daly, he's elite. From what I've seen, he's elite. But one elite person is just, it's not necessarily, they'll have an impact, but it's just not necessarily going to always be enough, depending on the situation. So we definitely need some of those other guys to step up, hone in on their techniques, and come in and make plays, because we're going to need it, especially on this conference play stretch of the season. This is every week is a Super Bowl for us. Essentially, we have to treat it that way if we want to be in contention to win the Big 12.
Oh, absolutely agree. Josh, before we move off this, is there anything else defensively we haven't hit on yet that you think either Morgan Scalley needs to help this defense do better, or just this unit needs to be better at in order to become an elite college football defense?
I think another thing I noticed with the defense is, at one point, Texas Tech was kind of just taking what the defense gave them, 5 yard pass here, 5 yard pass there, stop routes here. Don't give the offense anything. Make them earn every single yard. Sometimes I feel like, and it could be, certain calls, certain situations may be different, but I truly feel like the defense needs to, like, just get to a mindset and a mind space to where this team that is in front of us has to earn every single yard, whether that's running the ball, whether that's passing the ball, it doesn't matter. I think that and tackling, if they could just fix those two things, they'll be in good shape. They're going to be in good shape anyway, but they'll be in elite shape if they handle those two problems.
And if they're elite, Utah's going to try to do something that they haven't done since 2019, drop their first game of conference play and go on to make the conference championship game. It's hard to do, right? Well, Josh Nurse was a part of a team that was able to do that. So we're going to ask him how they were able to do it and how this Utah team can do it in one moment. But first, today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. How great is it having college football and NFL back to fill our weekends? It's something that I've absolutely loved. And, FanDuel's got an offer for you that you can't miss. And right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet. And you can fit however you like to bet as well. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And if you head over right now to FanDuel, look at the Utah Utes against West Virginia. Utah favored by 10.5 right now. I like the Utes in this game. I think that it was 12.5. I think the line's moving a little bit because of some of the Dampier injury uncertainty. Witt said he's going to be good to go. The West Virginia offense is not very good. The Utah defense is still pretty good. I think Utah does win by double figures, but however you're leaning, head over to FanDuel Sportsbook today.